Hi guys, it's Hannah. Welcome back to Weeknight Wonders. It's spring here in New York, and today I'd love to make a farfalle with smoked trout, springy asparagus, dill, and lemony crème fraîche sauce. It's a lovely weeknight-friendly pasta that comes together so fast. Let's get started. First, let's turn our attention to the pasta water. That's the first thing you should do. It's really important to have ample water because we're going to be blanching the asparagus, cooking the pasta, and reserving a little bit of that pasta cooking water to help thin out our sauce. So the water is boiling, it's salted, and now we're going to turn our attention to the crème fraîche sauce. If you do have time to remember to take it out from the fridge right at the start to kind of let it come to room temperature a bit, that's great. It just makes it a little easier to work with, but if you just pull it from the fridge right now, that's fine too. This recipe uses a whole lemon. I mean, truly, I never use a lemon without zesting it first. I don't know about you guys. We're going to zest the entire thing, squeeze half of the juice for the sauce, and then cut the other half into wedges for serving. This pasta dish really benefits from a lot of freshly cracked black pepper. The reason I'm not adding salt at the moment is because we have our smoked trout, which is quite salty, and then obviously our cooking water is salted as well. So we'll reserve the final salting for the end. The sauce is done, guys. Now let's turn our attention to the asparagus. So I think most people know how to determine where to cut the asparagus from its like woody stem end from like the softer, more tender part. You can go like this. If you feel like this is, asparagus wasted, which some people do, you can cut it a little farther down and then use a little speed peeler to trim off the end in a very like fancy French way. But basically the asparagus will tell you where you need to snap it. So you can kind of see just looking at these woody dry asparagus ends, they all kind of snap along the same zone. So you can take just a couple of the snapped ones, line it up against the rest of your asparagus, and then just roughly give everything a cut so that they're all uniform. So the asparagus are all neatly trimmed, and we're gonna go ahead and blanch them in the water. I think for asparagus, blanching is truly the best method of enjoying asparagus rather than grilling or roasting, which I know are also popular methods. If you haven't blanched asparagus before, I highly recommend that as a cooking technique. Don't walk away, don't check your email, don't text. These will take no time at all, like a minute or two. So while these asparagus are being blanched, now would be a great time to like and subscribe. You can find the full recipe on food52.com. Don't you feel liberated by not having to do an ice bath? This is my little protest against the ice bath. You really don't need it. Look how perfect they are. They are fine to just chill out while we cook the pasta. So let's talk about the pasta we're using today. We're using farfalle, aka bow ties, because I really feel for these little guys. Who remembers the beginning of the pandemic when these were literally the last pasta left on the shelves? So what we're going to do once the asparagus are cool enough to handle, we're going to kind of cut them down to somewhat match the size of this pasta shape so that it can just all be a little more uniform. We're using the same water that we blanched the asparagus in. So the pasta is cooking. You're gonna have about 10, 12, 14 minutes there. And it's a good time to talk about smoked trout. Let me know in the comments if you use smoked trout from the deli case at all. You can usually find it near the smoked salmon. You can find them with their skin on or skinless. Today we're using skinless. The skin is quite leathery, so you want to not use it. You can also use hot smoked or kippered salmon that has a really nice kind of firmer texture that would be a great substitute here. You could also use smoked trout that's tinned, but those tinned fish often comes in a brine ranging from more watery to more oily. So I would kind of drain that off and then just taste the smoked trout for seasoning just to see how salty it is, because this is quite salty. You might have to, if you're using tinned, up the salt when you're seasoning the final pasta dish. You just want to grab a fillet, and just use your fingers to roughly tear. Again, keeping in mind the size of the asparagus and the size of the farfalle, just, you know, you want it to be somewhat consistent in size. So smoked trout, smoked fish of really any type is such a perfect weeknight ingredient to help get dinner on the table quickly. It's already cooked and it's already seasoned and salted. Sometimes you can find them with extra herbs or pepper. So go check it out if you haven't already. This is perfect. Boneless, and then we're just saving the other half of this dish for our cut asparagus. So as I mentioned, I want to cut the asparagus roughly to the same size as the farfalle, and the important bit is to kind of preserve this really pretty peak top of the asparagus, because that's really the most beautiful part. You can cut it however you wish. So elegant. Do not forget to reserve a little bit of the starchy pasta cooking water. That'll help thin out the sauce and really help to coat every piece of pasta. You won't use this full amount, but it's better to have a little more than less. So let's toss this pasta. Everything is ready for us. We reserve some of the hot pasta cooking water just to thin out the sauce. I'll add about 3 to 4 tablespoons to start. And then if it looks a little too thick later, you can add just like a tablespoon more water at a time. You want to coat the pasta first before we add in all of the other ingredients. I'm going to add in the flaked fish and asparagus. And finally, our chopped dill. Be aggressive with the dill because it's one of the primary ingredients. It's not just a garnish. Does that look like spring or what? So here's our farfalle with asparagus, smoked trout, dill, and lemony crème fraîche. It is so beautiful. It's just screaming spring to me. We're going to just add a little lemon wedge. I would recommend more black pepper and maybe a few flirty sprigs of dill as well, just on top, because why not? Don't overcook your asparagus. It's so bright, so sweet. It's a really nice note to the salty smoked trout and the creamy crème fraîche sauce, which, while creamy, is also light because of the lemon zest and the juice that we used. Please give it a try. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys have a lot of great picnics on the calendar, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.